Leaked documents and internal footage from the Qatar Grand Prix have finally revealed the truth behind Oscar Piastri's lost victory, and what they show is far more shocking than anyone expected. This evidence proves that Piastri did not lose the race to Verstappen on pace but to a catastrophic strategic choice that McLaren made during the most important moment of the season. The information exposes the exact sequence that transformed a dominant performance into a painful defeat and reshaped the World Championship with only one race remaining. Before we break down the leaked evidence and the full story behind this collapse, make sure you subscribe because Abu Dhabi will decide one of the most dramatic title fights in a decade. The Qatar Grand Prix was meant to be Piastri's defining victory, the moment he showed McLaren and the entire world that he was ready to fight for the championship. He started from pole, executed a perfect launch, and built a clean margin with ease. The McLaren behaved with a level of aerodynamic stability and cornering efficiency that no other car on the grid could match, especially in the high-speed sections where the Red Bull bounced violently. Piastri controlled the race with calm precision, delivering 1-minute 24-second laps while keeping tire wear under strict management. Everything changed on lap 7. The collision between Hülkenberg and Gasly triggered a safety car that instantly reshaped the strategic landscape. This situation allowed every front-running team to complete a mandatory tire stop with minimal time loss. The majority of the field reacted immediately by diving into the pits. Max Verstappen did the same. He took fresh tires, cleared one of his required stops, and positioned himself perfectly for the remainder of the race. McLaren did not follow. Both Piastri and Norris stayed out on worn tires with the field compressed behind them. This decision placed Piastri in a mathematically impossible position. The leaked documents confirm that the team's race modeling misread the behavior of the field. One simulation suggested a split reaction to the safety car. The other predicted a mass pit sequence. McLaren selected the wrong model. Because of this choice, Piastri needed to build a 25-second gap over Verstappen to retain the lead after his stop. With modern Formula One pace compression, such a margin cannot be created unless the field collapses behind the leader. Piastri had the best car on track, but he did not have the conditions needed to escape the trap. The radio messages captured the emotional weight of the moment. During the safety car, Piastri calmly asked for strategic clarification. His engineer Tom Stallard told him they were staying out to protect track position. When Piastri eventually made his mandatory stop on lap 24 and rejoined behind Verstappen, his message was immediate and devastating. He said he had no words, reflecting a driver who had executed flawlessly yet saw his victory vanish because of a decision he did not control. Andrea Stella, McLaren's team principal, apologized publicly after the race. He admitted the team did not expect the field to react so aggressively to the safety car. The leaked footage confirms his statement. It shows the exact moment the strategy room realized they had chosen the wrong model and watched the race slip away in real time. The McLaren remained the fastest car, but the strategic miscalculation overrode every competitive advantage Piastri had earned on track. The championship situation after Qatar is explosive. Norris remains the leader with 408 points. Verstappen follows with 396 after receiving what he openly described as a gift. Piastri sits at 392, still mathematically alive but now needing a victory in Abu Dhabi and a collapse from both rivals. Qatar turned what should have been a decisive McLaren advantage into a three-way battle where the smallest error will determine the champion. Despite everything, Piastri's performance was extraordinary. His race pace remained superior even after the safety car reset the order. He navigated traffic efficiently, maintained controlled tire degradation, and extracted speed from the McLaren at every stage. The leaked evidence makes one thing clear. The victory was not lost on the circuit. It was lost on the pit wall. Qatar became the race that exposed McLaren's strategic weakness while highlighting Piastri's maturity and raw championship potential. The core problem began at the exact moment the safety car entered the circuit because the entire race structure changed instantly. Piastri had built a stable lead through elite pace, intelligent tire management, and complete control of the rhythm. His laps were consistent, his traction out of the slower corners looked effortless, and the McLaren behaved like a machine designed specifically for the Qatar layout. But the appearance of the safety car erased every advantage he had created. When a leader loses a natural gap and the entire field compresses behind him, strategy becomes far more important than raw speed. That was the moment where the race turned. A second layer of the problem came from the unique tire rules of the event. With mandatory compound changes required, the safety car offered the perfect opportunity to complete one of those stops with minimal time cost. Almost every front runner understood the importance of reacting immediately. The moment Verstappen and the majority of the field pitted, they aligned themselves with the optimal strategic path. McLaren did not react. Piastri and Norris remained on track, forcing themselves into a mathematical disadvantage that no level of pace could overcome. A leader without the strategic support becomes a target rather than a favorite. The third dimension of the problem was the misinterpretation of predictive data. The leaked material shows that McLaren relied on a model that assumed a mixed reaction from the field. Instead, the entire grid pitted in a unified response. By choosing the inaccurate scenario, McLaren created a situation where Piastri would require a gap exceeding 25 seconds to retain the lead after his stop. Under modern Formula One conditions, that requirement is not realistic. Even the fastest car cannot generate that margin when rivals have fresher tires and identical race pace. One inaccurate assumption compromised the entire win. The fourth issue was the emotional and cognitive pressure placed on Piastri once the situation became clear. Drivers can sense when the strategic foundation collapses, and they must find a way to maintain performance despite knowing the target is unreachable. After his stop on lap 24, he rejoined behind Verstappen and immediately identified the consequences of the decision. His radio message did not show anger but profound disappointment. When a driver delivers a near-perfect race yet feels stripped of victory by circumstances beyond his control, the emotional impact can be significant. A fifth dimension of the problem affected the engineering team directly. Once the incorrect strategy path was chosen, the engineers were forced to compensate for a situation they did not create. They attempted to construct a recovery plan through tire management, energy deployment, and aerodynamic balance adjustments, but even flawless engineering execution could not reverse the structural disadvantage. The leaked footage shows the moment the pit wall realized the gravity of the error. Their expressions made clear that the team understood they had placed both drivers into a losing trajectory the moment the safety car sequence ended. The sixth part of the problem involved the ripple effects on the World Championship. With one race remaining, every point matters, and the Qatar Grand Prix represented a golden opportunity for Piastri to transform the standings in his favor. Instead, the strategic mistake delivered the win directly to Verstappen while Norris preserved his championship lead. As a result, Piastri enters the final round trailing both rivals. This shifts the psychological pressure dramatically. What should have been a position of strength became a scenario where Piastri must now chase under maximum stress. A title contender cannot afford such missed opportunities. The final layer of the problem is what this race revealed about the balance between driver performance and team execution. Piastri proved he had the skill, precision, and mental clarity required to dominate the Grand Prix from lights to flag. The McLaren proved capable of championship-winning pace. Yet the team's misjudgment neutralized both of those strengths. Qatar became a case study in how Formula One victories are not only won with speed but with understanding, anticipation, and decisive thinking. Piastri did everything required to claim the triumph, but the strategic error turned his strongest performance into one of the most painful results of the season. The McLaren engineering group entered an immediate crisis the moment the safety car decision locked Piastri into a compromised race position. Until that moment, their work had been routine for a leader controlling the Grand Prix. The McLaren sat comfortably in its ideal aerodynamic window, the tire temperatures were stable, and the data displayed a perfectly predictable degradation curve. When the field pitted and McLaren stayed out, that entire picture collapsed. The engineers had to convert a comfortable winning scenario into a damage limitation plan while maintaining enough pace to protect Piastri's championship hopes. The shift was dramatic and forced them to operate under maximum cognitive pressure. The first engineering challenge involved recalibrating Piastri's pace to suit a new and extremely demanding objective. Instead of maintaining a controlled rhythm, he now needed to extract every possible tenth of a second without overheating the tires. Achieving this balance requires advanced real-time modeling. The engineers generated updated delta targets that reflected the only path available to keep Piastri within striking distance of Verstappen. A single overpush risked thermal degradation that would bury him further. A single underpush would allow Verstappen to build enough margin to secure the race despite having stopped earlier. The second challenge centered on tire thermal behavior. Qatar places exceptional load on the left rear tire, and once Piastri was forced to push beyond his initial race plan, the temperature margin disappeared rapidly. The engineers monitored surface spikes and instructed Piastri to refine his steering inputs, modify his mid-corner throttle, and adjust braking loads to cool the contact patch between high-speed zones. These micro-corrections are crucial because surface overheating leads to sliding, and sliding accelerates degradation. Piastri's discipline in controlling these parameters allowed him to remain the fastest car on the circuit despite the structurally inferior strategy. Another key responsibility involved protecting the aerodynamic balance of the MCL39. At high speed, the car is extraordinarily sensitive to pitch and yaw variations, and sustained pushing increases the risk of falling outside the optimal aero window. The engineers worked to maintain stability by analyzing floor load data, wind direction shifts, and corner entry oscillations. They delivered precise guidance on how to maintain downforce through the medium-high speed arcs where the MCL39 gained most of its time. Their input ensured that even under high stress the aerodynamic platform remained predictable and efficient. Energy deployment became the next major challenge. The Qatar circuit's long straights and heavy traction zones place huge stress on hybrid energy systems. Piastri needed to combine strong acceleration with sustainable battery levels, meaning the engineers had to orchestrate each lap with extraordinary finesse. They designed a deployment pattern that allowed high top speed without compromising recovery cycles. Every instruction required perfect timing because a single misalignment between energy usage and battery recharge would have created a deficit that Verstappen could exploit. Their coordination kept Piastri competitive even when the race had structurally turned against him. A further engineering responsibility involved forecasting traffic interaction. After the safety car cycle, the field became compressed, which forced Piastri to manage slower cars entering and exiting their pit windows. The engineering team predicted where traffic would appear, how much time Piastri would lose, and where he needed to prepare battery reserves to clear those cars efficiently. He executed these plans with precision, losing significantly less time than expected. This ability to navigate variable traffic patterns without weakening tire condition was one of the key reasons he maintained pressure on Verstappen throughout the second phase of the race.